There's something you already know you should be doing, and you're not doing it. That's not an accusation. It's just something I've noticed in myself and in almost everyone I talk to. There's this thing sitting in the back of your mind, a project, a habit, a change you keep saying you'll make, and every day you don't. Not because you forgot, not because you can't, but because not yet. I want to talk about that not yet, because I think it's one of the quietest, most costly phrases a person can live by. Most people I know are not lazy. That's the thing that surprised me when I started thinking about this. The people who procrastinate the most are often the ones who think about their goals constantly. They read about it, they plan for it, they talk about it, they know exactly what they should be doing, and still, nothing moves. So it's not a knowledge problem. You know what to do. I know what to do. Then, what is it? Here's what I think is actually happening. There's a gap, a specific gap between knowing and doing. And most people spend their entire lives living inside that gap without ever really noticing it. It's comfortable in there. You still get to feel like you're working on it. You're researching, you're preparing, you're getting ready to get ready. It feels productive. It looks like progress from the inside. But weeks pass, months pass, and the gap stays exactly the same size. What makes this dangerous isn't the dramatic version. You know the dramatic version. One day you wake up and realize your life passed you by. It makes for a good movie scene, but that's not how it usually goes. Usually it's quieter than that. It's a Tuesday afternoon. You meant to start something 3 months ago. You still haven't, so you push it to next week. And that Tuesday feels completely ordinary. No alarm goes off, no dramatic realization. Just another unremarkable day where the thing you said you'd do still didn't happen. That's the real danger, not the explosion, the slow erosion. And here's what that erosion actually costs you, because I don't think we talk about this part honestly enough. Every time you make a promise to yourself and break it, something small happens. Not dramatic, small. You trust yourself a little less. It's barely noticeable at first, but it compounds. Slowly, the version of you that says, "I'll start Monday," stops even fully believing it. And eventually, there's a kind of background noise in your life, a low hum of dissatisfaction, a feeling that you're not quite living up to something, but you can't name what. That feeling isn't random. It's just the accumulated weight of every small promise you made to yourself that you quietly let go of. Self-respect isn't built from big achievements. It's built from small follow-throughs. Tiny moments where you said you'd do something and did it. When those pile up, something shifts. You start to trust yourself, and that trust changes everything about how you move through the world. But let's be honest about why this happens. Because just be more disciplined isn't an answer. There's usually something hiding behind the delay. And it's not laziness. It's almost never laziness. It's fear. But the mind is very good at disguising fear. It wraps it in language that sounds reasonable. I need to do more research first. I'm waiting until I have more time. I want to do this properly. I'll start when things settle down. These don't feel like fear when you say them. They feel like responsibility, like wisdom, like being careful. But ask yourself this: if failure were completely invisible, if no one would ever know you tried and didn't make it, would you still be waiting? For most people, the answer is no. And that tells you something. The fear underneath procrastination usually has two faces. The first is the fear of failing, which makes sense. Failing is uncomfortable. But here's what I think people underestimate. Failing at something you actually tried is one of the most clarifying experiences a person can have. It tells you something real. It gives you actual information. It moves something. Waiting gives you nothing. Waiting is just a longer path to the same uncertainty, except you arrive older. The second fear is subtler. It's the fear of looking foolish, of putting something out into the world that isn't good enough, of starting something and doing it badly in front of other people. And this one is harder to shake because it's tied to identity, to how you see yourself. But I've noticed something. The people who have actually built things, anything, really, they almost universally say the same thing. They started before they were ready. They started while it was still rough, still embarrassing, still clearly not the finished version of what they imagined. And that imperfect beginning was the only reason there was ever a finished version at all. Think about it like building something from scratch. In the early stages, nothing looks impressive. The structure is rough. There are gaps everywhere. If you showed someone at that point, they might not even understand what you're making. But if you stop building because it looks bad midway, nothing gets built. The ugly middle stage isn't a sign of failure. It's just what building looks like before it's done. Most people never start because they're imagining the ugly middle stage and comparing it to someone else's finished version. That comparison isn't fair, and it's keeping a lot of people still. I want to say something about time, specifically about being young, or younger than you'll be, because I think there's a window of opportunity that people don't appreciate while they're in it. When you're young, the cost of failure is genuinely lower. Not emotionally. Emotionally, it can feel enormous. But practically, logistically, you have less to lose. Fewer obligations. Fewer people depending on you. More time to rebuild if something doesn't work. And this window doesn't stay the same size forever. That's not meant to be alarming. It's just true. The version of you that exists right now, with exactly this amount of freedom, time, and low overhead, that version won't exist forever. So if there's something you've been waiting for the right time to start, this is probably closer to the right time than you think. Not perfect, but close. Here's something simple. I've come back to a lot. Done is better than perfect. Started is better than planned. These sound obvious. Most true things do. But there's a version of them that goes deeper. It's not just that starting is better than waiting. It's that starting is the only way to find out what the thing actually is. You cannot think your way to a finished project. You cannot plan your way to a skill. You cannot research your way to confidence. These things only come from the doing, from the contact with the real, messy, imperfect version of the work. And the longer you stay in the planning phase, the more the imaginary version of the thing grows. It becomes this perfect, finished, impressive version in your head. And when you finally sit down to actually do it, it feels disappointing. Not because it's bad, but because it's real. And real things start small and take time. That disappointment is normal. Most people interpret it as a sign they're not good enough. They stop. The ones who don't stop are the ones who understand that the gap between imagining and doing is just part of the process. I'm not going to tell you to change everything starting tomorrow, because I don't think that's how it actually works. What I do think works is this. Pick the one thing that keeps coming back to you, the one you've been pushing forward for the longest, and just begin it. Badly, incompletely, without being ready. Do the smallest version of it you can do today. Not because that small version will be good. It probably won't be. But because the act of starting changes your relationship to the thing. It becomes real. And you become someone who does this thing, not just someone who plans to. The quiet truth at the center of all this is simple. There is no version of this where you wait long enough and then feel perfectly ready. That feeling isn't coming. It doesn't arrive before you start. It arrives sometimes after enough time doing the work, after enough small failures that taught you something, after enough mornings where you showed up even when you didn't feel like it. The readiness comes from the doing, not the other way around. So I'll leave you with just one question. Not to pressure you, not to push. just something to sit with. If you're still here a year from now, having not started, what will you tell yourself then?